With the 2026 World Cup in full swing, with Lionel Messi dominating the competition and taking Argentina into the final, as well as Jujutsu Kaisen Season 4 being announced, continuing the Culling Games, I was thinking, what if Kenjaku's idol transfiguration affected more non-sorcerers like Higuruma or Takaba, but across time? What if footballers suddenly awaken to cursed energy, their lives, their talents manifested in their technique? The first sorcerer would be the magician himself, the quantum prodigy. Let's dive into the full breakdown of Messi's awakening, his technique, his domain expansion, everything. This is part 1 of the GOAT Culling Games. The year was 2014, the Maracanã Stadium in Rio de Janeiro. It was the World Cup final, Argentina versus Germany. The game ended 1-0 to Germany. Lionel Messi stood on the pitch, staring at the golden trophy that was just inches from his grasp. The weight of being infinitely close to perfection yet eternally denied it fractured something deep inside his mind. In that moment of absolute despair, Messi's perception of reality shattered and reformed. He awakened the microcosmic eyes. The microcosmic eyes are a derivative of the six eyes. But while the six eyes perceive the flow of cursed energy at an atomic level and grant their user near-infinite efficiency in technique activation, the microcosmic eyes perceive something far more fundamental. They perceive the gaps between atoms, the empty spaces that make up the vast majority of all matter. The human eye sees solid objects as continuous surfaces, but the microcosmic eyes reveal the truth. The universe is 99.99% empty space. Molecules are separated by vast distances relative to their size. Atoms are composed of nuclei surrounded by electron clouds that are almost entirely void. Even the densest materials are essentially empty space held together by electromagnetic forces. Messi's microcosmic eyes allow him to see these gaps, to perceive the empty spaces within and between all things, and to understand that what appears solid is actually a lattice of emptiness. This allows him to do something that seems impossible. He can walk through the gaps, stepping into the empty spaces between molecules and atoms, effectively phasing through solid objects by navigating the voids that exist within them. Furthermore, the microcosmic eyes grant Messi an intuitive understanding of spatial coordinates and distances. He does not simply perceive gaps, he perceives the mathematical relationships between objects in space. He sees distance not as a physical measurement, but as a coordinate value that can be manipulated. To his perception, every object exists as a set of coordinates within a three-dimensional grid, and he can mentally recalculate these coordinates, essentially redefining where things are relative to each other. This is the foundation of his innate technique. Innate technique, La Pulga's absolute axis. Messi's innate technique grants him nigh absolute control over relative spatial distance. This is not the same as Gojo's limitless, which creates infinite fractions of space between the user and an attack, effectively slowing the attack to a halt by exploiting the Achilles paradox. Unlike Gojo, Messi does not slow things down. Instead, he redefines the coordinate system of himself and his target, operating on macro-spatial compression rather than infinite subdivision. The neutral form of this technique is called El Pasillo, the corridor. Messi designates a straight line between 2 points, and any object or person that exists within this designated axis has its physical distance mathematically averaged. To give a concrete example, imagine a defender is standing 2 meters in front of Messi. In normal spatial geometry, the defender's coordinates are positive 2 meters on the x-axis relative to Messi's position. Messi activates El Pasillo and performs a mathematical operation on these coordinates, averaging the distance so that the defender's coordinate becomes -2 meters on the same axis. The defender is now, mathematically, 2 meters behind Messi. The universe accepts this recalculation because the manipulation is purely spatial, and the defender's position is redefined without any physical displacement occurring. The defender appears to have been bypassed, but in reality the geometry of the space between them was rewritten. Messi does not dribble past you, he recalculates your position to be behind him, imposing that reality upon the universe itself. Initially, Messi had to manually activate El Pasillo for each defender he faced, visualizing the coordinate system and performing the mathematical calculations in his mind, which exhausted him immensely. But since his awakening at the Maracana, he has programmed the technique to be subconsciously active. His microcosmic eyes automatically discern hostile intent based on the defender's cursed energy intensity and body angle, and the coordinate calculations happen in the background without conscious effort. To prevent his brain from frying under constant spatial recalculation, Messi constantly flows a minute amount of reverse curse technique to his prefrontal cortex, refreshing his cognitive load mid-stride, a feat of RCT mastery that only Gojo and Sukuna have matched. Curse technique Lapse, concave step. The aggressive application of his spatial axis is called concave step. By amplifying El Pasillo with negative cursed energy, Messi inverts the relative distance of a single object and creates a localized vacuum of space around the opponent's lead foot. The universe, in its attempt to correct this vacuum, pulls that foot inward, causing the opponent to trip over their own center of gravity. This is not a physical tackle but a gravitational command, and the mechanism is simple. The vacuum pulls the foot inward, the foot collides with the shin, and the bone breaks. Messi did not touch you. The universe broke your leg for him. Cursed technique Lapse, maximum cursed energy output, Copa Singularity. When Messi channels his maximum output into his Lapse technique, he generates what is called Copa Singularity, a 1-meter sphere of absolute spatial collapse. This sphere acts as an artificial black hole with the mass of a neutron star, and Messi does not throw this sphere but instead dribbles it, with the sphere trailing exactly 0.3 meters behind his left foot at all times. Any cursed energy blast, physical projectile, or extended limb that enters this 1-meter radius is crushed into a 2-dimensional plane of pure imaginary mass, flattened into non-existence rather than destroyed. Messi can move this singularity at will by changing his dribbling pace, devastating entire defensive lines of Shikigami simply by running past them and letting the singularity erase them from existence, a level of destructive capability that rivals the output of Gojo's Hollow Purple. Curse technique reversal, convex retreat. By flowing positive energy generated from his reverse curse technique into his innate technique, Messi inverts the spatial collapse into a violent expansion known as convex retreat. He emits a silent, invisible shockwave that multiplies the distance between himself and any incoming attack by a factor of 10,000. So a blade swung at his neck is suddenly 10,000 meters away mid-swing and harmlessly misses because the space has been expanded into nothing. However, the true terror of convex retreat is its offensive application, where Messi touches an opponent's chest and activates the reversal, expanding the space between their ribs so that their rib cage is forcibly spread apart from the inside, causing catastrophic lung collapse and internal hemorrhaging without a single physical blow. Hollow technique, El Clásico Eternity. This is Messi's forbidden technique, a fusion of his lapse and his reversal within the same spatial coordinate. The collision of the vacuum and the expansion does not create imaginary mass like Gojo's purple, but instead creates a dimensional shear. Messi snaps his fingers and a single razor-thin line of distorted air shoots forward. And this line is not an attack, but a severance of causality. Anything that crosses this line, be it cursed energy, flesh, or domain barrier, is not cut but disconnected from the timeline. Everything in existence has a past, a present, and a future, and the dimensional shear severs the connection between the past and the present of whatever it touches, so the severed pieces remain in the present, but have no past to anchor them and rapidly dissolve into nothingness, as reality rejects their existence. The opponent is not killed, but unmade. This technique burns an astronomical amount of cursed energy and can only be used twice per battle. Reverse Cursed Technique. The Forgiving Ankle. Messi's expertise lies in hyper-efficient, localized RCT. He cannot regenerate entire limbs like Yuta Okatsu, but he can heal microscopic spatial tears in his own ligaments and tendons instantaneously. He constantly, subconsciously heals the micro-fractures in his left ankle, a permanent injury from his youth, which allows him to perform sudden, explosive direction changes that would snap a normal sorcerer's leg in half, as his RCT simply remembers the correct cellular structure and reverts any damage mid-stride. Furthermore, Messi has achieved the unprecedented feat of using RCT to refresh his burnt-out curse technique in 0.2 seconds, allowing him to activate concave step and convex retreat in rapid succession, without the usual cooldown, a skill only rivaled by Gojo and Sukuna. Barrier techniques. Messi can erect a silent, invisible curtain shaped like a perfect 105 by 68 meter rectangle, a football pitch, that does not hide him but traps his opponent inside a possession zone, where his spatial recalculation becomes 100% accurate, with no margin for error. He can also weave a simple domain, a new shadow-style variant that he inscribes onto his own boots, an anti-domain technique that neutralizes the sure hit effect of any incoming domain for exactly 1.7 seconds, just long enough for him to step out of the lethal range. Falling Blossom Emotion. Rosario Rhythm. Messi adapted the secret art of the Big Three families into his own variant called Rosario Rhythm. Instead of counterattacking with a cursed energy shroud, he meets the sure hit of a domain with a hyper-precise 0.0001 second microstep to the left, moving exactly 2 centimeters, so that the domain's automatic tracking misfires and targets the empty space he occupied a nanosecond prior. This requires no cursed energy output, only his inhuman spatial perception. Domain Expansion. Infinite 1v1. Messi's domain is a closed barrier that manifests as a stark white infinite void with glowing green grass and 2 ghostly goalposts. With no teammates, no distractions, only Messi and his opponent. The sure hit is called Mathematical Dribble Overload, and the moment the domain closes, the sure hit activates by forcibly connecting the opponent's brain to Messi's spatial calculation engine, so they are forced to process every single possible dribbling trajectory Messi could take, millions of permutations per second. While their mind is flooded with infinite possibilities of where Messi will go, their physical body is forced to react to all of them simultaneously, causing their nervous system to short-circuit and their muscles to lock into conflicting spasms, so they collapse into a fetal position, completely paralyzed. Messi simply walks up to them, places his palm on their skull, and activates a miniature Copa Singularity at point-blank range, crushing their head into a 2-dimensional plane before they can even scream. Messi's domain is so refined that he can activate it for a mere 0.1 seconds, trap his opponent, execute the sure hit, and release it all within the time it takes to blink, minimizing cursed energy drain and preventing allies from being caught. Domain Amplification. Captain's Armband. Messi can compress his domain expansion into the size of a captain's armband he wears, a micro-domain that is a perpetual passive threat where anyone who touches the armband is instantly subjected to the mathematical dribble overload for just 0.5 seconds. Just enough time for Messi to land a crippling knee strike to their sternum while they are frozen. Binding Vow. The Golden Promise. Messi has a self-imposed binding vow where he has sworn that he will never use his left hand to harm an opponent. In exchange for this restriction, his left foot's cursed energy output is permanently amplified by 200%, so every spatial collapse, every kick, every concave step generated from his left foot carries the force of a black flash. This vow is unbreakable, and if he ever strikes an opponent with his left palm, he will instantly lose his technique and die of cursed energy burnout.